And he knows that, well, while he's up there, he's got no chance of being able to get anywhere near them. And the fact of the matter is he does have food anyway, so it's not really too much of a stress. So we've got a situation where she's not interested because she's too small to be hunting such big warthogs, and he's not interested because he's got food as it is. But let's see if the warthogs do come any closer. For now, they seem like they're just kind of milling around. Now it seems like they're moving away, but I can see Mvula's watching now as well. And if Xongile wasn't here, Mvula might have an opportunity. If the warthogs did keep coming and they walked right under the tree, he could then potentially drop down from the tree itself. But with Xongile being down on the ground and between him and the warthog, I would doubt that they would be able to come sort of this close. They would probably get spooked by Xongile before they even got anywhere near where Mvula is. But isn't this cool? From lions hunting in the Masai Mara to leopards hunting or being in proximity to warthogs in the Sabi Sands. It's so fantastic to have the two of them together. It really is. And I think the warthogs know something's not quite right. They're not 100% sure. They've definitely not seen the leopards, but they don't quite know what's going on either. But they know that there's some sort of issue here. They're probably with the vehicle. You know, warthogs often see the vehicles and move away from us anyway. So let's see, they are getting closer. So Laura, are you saying the warthogs are tiptoeing past this area? Well, at this stage I would imagine that they would have to. You wouldn't want to be a warthog in amongst two leopards now, would you? I think that would be stuff nightmares would be made out of. If you were a warthog and you were sleeping at night, that would be a dream you wouldn't want to have. It feels like you'd be kind of getting flack from both sides. And if we had Tingana here, I would imagine that these warthogs would have a lot more to worry about. Mvula, he's, like I say, he's an old man and he's kind of doing his thing. He's got food, and Xongile a bit small. But if this was Tingana, those warthogs would be in serious trouble. But look how she's watching them. And behind that tree, she's curled up. She's going to be very difficult to see. And these warthogs are going to really struggle to be able to find or to see him or her. So it's going to be interesting when they get a little bit closer, if there's maybe an opportunistic sort of run at them. And we already know with little Hosanna that he's a lot more sort of active in his hunting than what Xongile is. But Xongile, maybe, you never know, has already tried to hunt warthogs in her sort of life on her own and has realized that they're not an easy thing to hunt, and that's why she's not that interested. But Mvula is surprising me. I would have thought he would have been a lot more interested than what he is. Right, well, we're going to sit for a little bit longer and see if our warthogs do get a little bit closer and if they potentially get near Xongile or Hosanna. But while we do that, let's go back to Tayla, who sounds like has got tracks for lots of big cats of her own.
We've got an entire pride of lions' footprints. Let me show you. I'll pull off this side. And if you look just down the way on the road, I'm not going to jump out, but you can see, look how uneven the road is, and you can see those are lots of lion footprints, and there's even more on the other side of the road. So they found some of the Torchwood Pride members at around Big Dam, but I think that's closer to the Manuleti side in Buffelshoek. Now we're right on the eastern corner of the property. I'm trying to figure out where on earth these lions have gone. So I've already gone to the boundary, which I can see just up ahead, and there's a set of mail tracks that cross into Torchwood, but nothing else. But they're going up and down. They're even laying in the road. I'll show you some cool tracks if we go to the boundary of the lion laying down on the ground. Just quickly, just triple checking that I haven't maybe missed them in the bushes. Now, Hunter, you were wondering how fast can a lion run, and wouldn't it have been great if you could have seen it with Scott, of that lioness in the Mara. She could have demonstrated to you. But they typically reach a speed of about 70-75 kilometers an hour, but they can't keep that up for very long. So they're not necessarily very fast. They're not fast like a cheetah, but their acceleration speed is unbelievable. Like I said, that's only kept up for short distances, and then they're exhausted. So they don't have lots of stamina. They aren't able to run for long periods of time. But here's the track I want to show you. So I just want to pull up off the road. I hope I didn't drive over it too much, but I was here already. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what's going on. I can see Mike also coming this way. I have sent him around here to have a look. This is quite nice to see where the lions were laying about. So the male lion's track goes across the road and all the way here. Now the other thing is that the lionesses could have actually gone further east. But if you look at all of this, you can see that the lion was laying down. I'm trying to see if I can see where his tail went. But I think, here we go. Look how cool this is. This is my favorite. This is one of the most amazing things to see. And I always wish I could show guess. Because it's one thing to see a big male lion. It's another thing to see how big its body is. So here's the tail track here. I'm going to just draw on the outline. So this is obviously his nether regions, and we can tell that it was his nether region because look, you see how it's wet on the ground here? So he must have urinated, and this is just the leftover residue that you're finding that. But can you see the track quite easily, eh, Craig? What I'll do is I'll color it in. So here's the base of the tail, and then get out of my track, and then it starts to get thinner. See that? So all along there, that's where his tail, so his front feet were here. So I'm going to try and lay like him. Now there's a car coming up. They're going to think I'm an absolute idiot. But anyway, so his paws were here. He's obviously just resting like that with his back legs tucked underneath him. Maybe his back legs sort of to the side. And then his tail drapesing around over here. And he's the one that crossed over. But I can't see, and I can't figure out where these lionesses have gone. But they're going up and down, searching all around here. Perhaps they were hearing things, maybe they were picking up on the scent of a particular animal, but so far no luck. I'm wondering, I'm going to just figure out which way Mike's going to go, if he's going to do the whole boundary. Herbie is also on his way here, so he's going to try and come and give us a helping hand. I'll have a chat to Mike just now on the radio. He'll go check up there. Let's go back down. Let's go exactly the same way we've come. And this is what happens. You can check around a whole bunch of times. But a nice track though. I thought that was quite cool. I was actually thinking about it the other day. I was like, oh, we haven't been seeing the lions on the property for long enough. We don't really get to see any cool evidence of them. But that was a good track, other than just a footprint. So I'm going to keep checking left, right, as we go through back down Hippo Pools Road, back towards Buffelshoek Dam. Now the tracks came this way, but you know what? They could have got all the way over here and gone, we're going to go back to the dam again. Hen, you've said that I'm Sherlock Tayla. Well, I try. Let's first see if I can actually find the lions if they haven't crossed out of our traverse. Otherwise, I might just be Tayla, the hopeless tracker. I'm trying my best though. But when you've got hungry lions, their behavior definitely does become quite erratic. We saw how desperate they were yesterday. They were thin. So they could have heard the slightest sound and changed their direction completely. But anyway, we've got cats sitting, waiting, with warthogs in the distance. Who knows what's going to happen, but let's go back across to Tristan.
Well, indeed, but our warthogs have disappeared and little Xongile is curled up in a tight ball, and, well, Mvula is still sitting, surveying his kingdom, and look at his eyes. He's got the most amazing eyes. Now, earlier, when I linked to Tayla, I might have said Hosana. Well, I think I said Hosana and Xongile, so we don't have Hosana here, unfortunately. But, well, hopefully one day he'll be as big as Mvula and will live as long a life as Mvula has. And wouldn't it be fantastic if he also arrived? Now, where are you going? Now, let's see what happens here. It'll be interesting if he comes down. So, Michael, you're wondering if I think Mvula would react differently if it was Hosana instead of Xongile. Well, yes, I think so. I think it would be very different. Now, it looks like he's going to come down the tree. Yep, there we go. That wasn't very graceful, Mvula. I think so. I think a young male would be a very different prospect to a big adult, to a young female. And so you might find he might have been a little bit more aggressive. And look at Xongile. She thinks maybe he's gone and that she's got a chance to now go and get in. Look at how she's sitting upright. And doesn't that remind you of Karula? How many times have we seen Karula sitting like that before? I don't know why. For some reason, when she just stood up like that, it just reminds me of her a lot. I wonder where he's going to go settle now, if he's going to just go and lie down somewhere. If she tries to go up, I would be surprised if he let her go up and feed. I'm pretty sure he'll growl at her if he does go up. And let's see what happens. See, she's chuffing a little bit.
She's got beautiful eyes.
Now, the chuffing sound is just her talking to Mvula, just to say, you know, I'm here, don't chase me, so that he doesn't get upset with her. And he can watch her. He's busy seeing her now, and he's not too fazed by it. He kind of just looks around and is not really very worried at all. He's now actually looking at the squirrels instead. Where are you going to go, boy? So you can hear the squirrels' alarm calling in the distance, so he's just listening to that. The warthogs have run off at the thump of a leopard landing on the ground next to them. You've had a very eventful 24 hours, Mr. Mvula, from dead hyena that he was seen with yesterday afternoon to now being in a sighting with Xongile and a duiker kill. Maybe it's all been too much and it's now time to go and find somewhere to rest in the shade. He's got beautiful places to go and lie. In fact, the old hyena den off Mvubu is just in front of us here, so it's a nice big termite mound that's full of shade, and you'll be able to see his kill from there. So I wouldn't be surprised he goes and just kind of sits on top of that termite mound and rests there. There's also a number of other big trees in this area that he can find shade, so we'll see how that goes. But I do want him to move off a little bit so that little Xongile maybe can sneak up that tree quickly and be able to then get the food and get a little bit of a meal. So there he goes. He's just slinking off. I think he's going to go find himself somewhere to lie down. Xongile, are you going to move now? So Xongile is still sitting patiently, and so while we see how this all plays out, let's go to Mr. Scotty Dyson all the way in the Masai Mara, where I believe lots of stripy horses are lining up on the banks of a river and potentially might start crossing.
Well, just before you joined us, there was about 40 or 50 zebra drinking where these two remain. Here you can see a lot more coming back down. They're obviously very, very nervous, because when they're quenching their thirst, they know that at any moment one of the huge crocodiles that inhabit this Mara River could launch out at them. Wouldn't that be terrifying every morning or every time you have a drink, knowing that you are in an immense amount of danger? There's probably about 200 to 300 zebra massing up behind these ones. This is an area where we have very large zebra herds. Look at all of them! Incredible! And they've all got a big fright. It seems like the panic is spreading. Look at all that dust being kicked up. Now what's interesting is that I'm fairly certain that this is a resident herd of zebra. So this isn't part of the migration. I think these zebra always hang out in this area. At least since I've been here, they've always been here. So it's interesting how you do get residents that stay year-round in the beautiful Masai Mara. There's the Olololo escarpment in the background. Our camp is on the top of that ridge, but further to the right, further north of us. And it stretches kind of north-south along the western edge of the Mara. We're somewhere probably behind that bush. Okay, well, it seems like all the zebra have moved off, but what I'd like to do is show you some Ripple's long-tailed starlings, which are just running along the floor there. It looks very similar to the Burchell starling that you get down in the Sabi sands. Well, hang on, what's going on here? They're supposed to have white eyes, and I did see one a little bit earlier with a very bright white eye. Although these don't seem to be. There's an Egyptian goose, which I'm sure a lot of you are used to seeing. Just chilling out. You can see how it's got its one webbed foot elevated there, doing a bit of a balancing act as the starlings hunt for insects in the grass behind it. Very good. Well, very Very happy Tristan's managed to find Xongile and Mvula for you. Sounds like an interesting sighting there, and who knows if things will heat up. She must obviously be hugely disappointed by the fact that he's stolen her hard-won kill. Okay, well, considering things have kind of petered out here, we are going to continue further south. We're going to follow the river and try and catch up with the migration, but the good news is James seems to have just found it, so you're going to go over to his vehicle and see what's happening over there.
Oh, good morning everybody, and I'm sorry for our lateness. We have had a wonderful time. We've been exploring and we have found one of the big herds of the great wildebeest migration. There they are, migrating. My name is James Hendry, if you're wondering. Fergus is on camera, and we are out in the field and out of our studio. We're very pleased to be out in the field and out of our studio, inhaling the dust kicked up by thousands of wildebeest and, of course, many zebra as well. Let's head back to them. I'm not sure how strong our signal is over here. So what we're going to do is I'll tell you what we've been doing. And what we'll do eventually is, once I've told you what we've done this morning, we'll roll down this hill and see if we can't get in amongst them. We came down the eastern fringes of the western fringes of the Olololo escarpment, down the western Mara Triangle, and we turned east then when we got to about 2 kilometers to the north of the Tanzanian border. There we had found a very, very large agglomeration of zebra and wildebeest. They were drinking and swimming, actually, in a very, very pretty river. There's not a river that has a name as far as I'm aware. It probably does, but I don't know what it was. Anyway, we crossed the river and we followed in the dust. That's why I'm clearing my throat continuously, of these herds. Now, Brent said that he had heard word of them in this area before. I haven't seen any large herds this year at all, and here they are. This is my first large herd of migrating wildebeest. There are a whole lot more a long way to the east inside the Masai Mara National Reserve, which of course is part of the same ecosystem, but this is the first group that we've had heading north inside the Mara Triangle, and I'm just going to see if I can't, with my binoculars, tell you how far away they are from those big crossings that we know so well up in the northern triangle. But they are at least some 20 kilometers away at this stage, so I don't think they'll be there today. I don't think they'll be there tomorrow, but they could be there in the next week or so. We are, however, quite close to some of the steeper crossings at the southern end of the river, and so maybe we'll go and pop along and see what we can see there. So, any questions, of course, hashtag Safari Live. I know it's very late in the day to be telling you that. What we're going to do, for as long as signal persists, is we're going to drive down through this herd, see if we can, see if I can get you to enjoy the taste of the dust, which is quite thick on my teeth right now. Alright, apparently there is some very exciting stuff going on at Djuma, so we're going to drive through this herd and you're going to go back to Mvula and Xongile.
Well, indeed, it has been very exciting. It's so good to see this little one, and she's now talking to Mvula, who's completely disinterested in her, but she keeps chuffing at him and kind of snorting at him. There we go. And he's not interested at all. He's now lying in the shade quite far away from where she is. See? She's just contact calling him. And every now and then you'll hear a little grumble from him as he sits in the distance there and kind of warns her that that's my kill. You will not go anywhere near it. I don't think she's going to be able to get anywhere near him. Oh, big yawn as well. I wonder where she's going to go. I think she's going to have to try and find herself some shade. I don't think she's going to be allowed to get anywhere near that carcass by Mvula. While he's being tolerant of her, if she tries to get close, he'll chase her. Just not because he's threatened by her in any way, but, well, his food is up there now and he wants that all to himself. He doesn't want to share that with Xongile. And she's trying to make these chuffing sounds in a way of kind of telling him that I'm not a threat, can I please just come a little bit closer and get some food? And she'll be used to, when she did this with Kruger, she would come down the tree and let her little cub go up, no problem. But a big male leopard like this is not going to tolerate that at all, and he's not going to allow her anywhere near it. But you can't blame her for trying. Hello, my girl. Look at her sniffing the air. Oh, a little head shake. Oh, she's so beautiful. So Kobe, age 15, you want to know what the chuffing sounds like? Well, it just sounds like a really quick breath that she's kind of taking. And she's doing it every now and then, so I'm not sure if you can pick it up on the mics, but I'll try to keep quiet so you can. Of course, now she won't do it. But we'll just sit quietly for a bit until she does do it. There we go. You see? It's like just a sort of huffing breath. So it's like a... So that's the kind of sound she'll make when she chuffs. And moms do it when they call their cubs. They'll make that same sound. And each little leopard will have a sort of individual way of doing it. And the cubs will then recognize that as well as the adult males. Now, Mvula was flat sleeping, but the squirrels have woken him up again. I walk in the rain. You're wondering if she could be calling for her brother. No, not at all. What she's doing is she's trying to communicate with Mvula that she's not a threat, and she wants to be able to try and get towards that carcass. So she's making the sound as a sort of submissive display to him that she's interested in him and wants to come closer. But when he growls, that's an indication back to him, that back to her, that she mustn't come any closer. If he started to chuff back the same as what she's doing, then she would know that she can approach and get closer. But when he growls like that, that's basically him saying to her, no chance, you can't come any closer. And you can see him just in the distance here. I don't know if you can see him, Seb. So if I point him out, he's just in there somewhere. So we should go a little bit tighter. Should be able to see him. There you go. You can just see his muzzle in amongst the leaves, so he's not too far away. And you can see he's listening to Xongile, but when she gets a little bit closer or she moves, then he'll just growl a little bit and have something to say. And there we go. She's now lying back down again and decided, well, this is where I'm going to rest. But look on her chest there. You see she's got blood on her chest. So that kill is definitely hers, and that would have been when she was up feeding, and unfortunately it's now been stolen away from her by this big monstrous male that is Mvula. And that's unfortunately the way it's going to go, Xongile. You're going to have to learn this lesson because it's going to happen to you many times. I've seen many different females robbed of their kills by big males, and so it just happens like that. And you'll find some females are pretty kind of resilient against it, and they'll sit for long periods of time waiting for the male to eat and then hoping that bits will drop down for them. They never really get anywhere. I've seen Salesh with Anderson do it many times. She just sits and waits, and well, it just never really works out for her because Anderson's a glutton and just eats everything. But she does try and sort of wait. Other females that I've seen, they just sort of see the male get up in the tree and they walk off. They're not interested in trying to wait because they know what's good, the outcome of that's going to be. So these will be valuable lessons for Xongile as she grows up, as how to deal with another male leopard, how to deal with her carcass being stolen, and this is all going to sort of be good for her in the long run. And as she sort of grows up and becomes this bigger female and becomes a territorial female, these will be vital lessons that she's learned. So really good to see that she's been able to handle herself around Mvula, because Mvula would have been one of the biggest threats to her as a young individual because, well, even though he's a male and she's a female, she's not in any way old enough to mate with, and Mvula will know that, and so he doesn't know that Karula's potentially gone, and he'll try and kill that cub to bring the females back into heat if there is a female around here. So even though he's a sort of nomadic male, the chance to mate, if he can take it, he'll still do so, as we know, because he mated with Shaluva last year. He'll still try and mate with females if they are around. So she's kind of passed her first major test as a lonely female, that as far as we know, because Tingana we think is her father, and she spent a lot of time around Tingana with Karula, whereas Mvula would be an unknown entity for her, and one that she's managed to kind of now negotiate, which is going to only lead to better things and more experienced females. So she's done well to sort of make sure that she hasn't been in any way hurt by him yet. Obviously there still could potentially be a problem if she gets brave enough to try and go to that carcass. She might get hurt, but I don't think she will. I think she'll know that as while he's there, she's just going to have to be patient and bide her time and curl up into a tight little ball like she has now. Mvula, on the other hand, has gone completely flat. All I see is a little white tummy sticking out of the bush. He's fast asleep now. And it's, like I say, been an eventful 24 hours for Mvula, from finding dead hyenas to finding this and probably having some sort of interaction with Xongile. It's all been happening. So Shanson, you say you once remember Mvula sharing a meal with Sindile. Well, that's true, he did share a meal with Sindile. I remember Brent telling me about it. But I've also seen him share a meal with Shravambalana. I've seen him share a meal with Mishu in Duna. Who else did I see him share a meal with? Just another squirrel that started to alarm call, and it's made Mvula sit up as well, because it's a squirrel that's alarm calling from a different direction now. Pretty sure it's seeing him because it's just on our right hand side here. But you can see Xongile also popped up, Mvula popped up, and they probably both got to be quite aware of any other leopard. We know that last night Tayla saw, not too far from here, a skittish female leopard, or what she thought was a female leopard. So maybe Chitwa could be hanging around, or another leopard could be in this area, and with all the squirrels alarm calling, that will often attract other leopards, and so both of them are going to have to be quite aware of what's going on. Wouldn't it be quite something if little Tumba rocked up into this whole sighting as well, because that would certainly put a spanner in the works as to what goes on. And we know that Xongile and Tumba have spent time together, but I don't think Mvula has ever seen Tumba, and it would be interesting to judge his reaction to Tumba. But like we were saying now, I've seen him sharing kills with lots of different young males, and in no way aggressive whatsoever. I remember the one time he shared his meal with Torchwood male. So Torchwood came from Inkanyeni, and we thought was actually not fathered by Mvula. It could have been, obviously, because we don't know what happens sometimes, but as far as we knew, it wasn't fathered by Mvula, and yet he shared a meal where Mvula actually lay on the ground and Torchwood fed in the tree and came down, and then Mvula went up into the tree as well. So really quite interesting to watch. But both these leopards now are very alert. Since the squirrel started, there's another leopard. See here on the right?
Yeah.
So we've got 3 leopards now. I thought there might be another one. It's just sneaking in this thicket here.
Yeah, I saw the tip of its tail.
Saw the tip of the tail. I wonder who this is now that's arrived. So the drama continues. This is absolutely phenomenal. Only in the Sabi sands can you see something like this.
Let's move to the left.
Let's move to the left.
Yeah.
I don't want to move in case it's a skittish leopard and it runs away. I want to try and see how this plays out. But Mvula is very, very alert. Which way has it gone? This way, Seb?
Yes.
Okay, let's just see. Maybe it's going to come in front here. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But Xongile is completely unaware of what's going on. She's not really too phased, but Mvula has definitely seen something. But like I say, if it's a skittish leopard, I don't want to move too much in case that leopard then runs away. Let's let it play out and see what happens. But there's definitely a 3rd leopard that's arrived here now. Isn't this cool? What an epic way to spend the day. High five, Seb. That's so awesome. Right. Wonder where she's gone now. I thought there might be another one, because like I said, the squirrel on my right hand side just started all of a sudden, and that squirrel had been quiet, but you can see the 2 squirrels are now alarm calling heavily. Look how their tails go up and down. And so we'll use them to find leopards. And the only reason we actually came up to this spot was because we heard a squirrel's alarm calling. And, well, just as well we did, because it's now turning out to be the most ridiculous morning. I don't know how we're going to get anywhere near to where this other leopard could be. Seb, let's try though. Let's just see if we can't just reposition slightly. I also want to move for another reason, is that Xongile is on my left and she can't see anything from where she is. So if there is another leopard here, I don't want her to get caught unawares. I just want to move myself from where that leopard would be and make sure that Xongile has got a clear field of view, that if it is another leopard that could potentially be dangerous to her, that she's able to then sort of see the danger coming and not have to worry too much. Now hopefully this other leopard, if it is a skittish leopard, is going to be so preoccupied with all the other sort of activity going around. Just careful there, Seb, are you alright? Okay, Seb, you're just going to have to guide me. Are we good? We're good? Cool. So we have to just watch our aerial at the back, there it is there. Straight through, Seb, you see it here? It looks like a female. I can't see exactly who it is, but straight through. So this bending tree over there somewhere. So just to my finger. So you should see her in there. Just to your left a little bit. There,
Okay,
there.
yeah, okay.
So I can't see exactly who it is just yet. Is it Hosanna? It looks like it could be Hosanna. So we threw it into the cosmic universe, but it looks like it might be him. There's a tree that's right across his face at the moment, but it does look a little bit like him. For those of you that want to hazard a guess, maybe hashtag Safari Live, who you think this is. Difficult when it's just like that, but it looks like it might be Hosanna. And this is going to be interesting to see Mvula's reaction. So we've got Xongile on our left-hand side, Mvula just to the left, and then this other leopard straight in front. There we go. Who are you now? So there we go. 3 leopards. Isn't that ridiculous? It is so cool. And look how it's just sneaking through the bush there. Awesome. To be fair, I really don't know who it is. Maybe when it comes out into the bush. Here we go. This is going to be our best bet in terms of an ID. No, still can't see it nicely. I thought it was going to come right out into the open, but it doesn't look like it's... Mobile Paddy, you saying 3 leopards will cause squirrels to lose their minds. Well, most definitely these squirrels are very upset by the fact that there's 3 different leopards in this area, and so I'm sure they just don't know where they're coming from. And the more they call like this, there is every likelihood that maybe even Tingana can rock up in this whole situation, because, well, if he hears this and he's anywhere nearby, he's definitely going to kind of come and investigate what's going on. Now, I wonder where this other leopard's gone. So some of you are saying Hosanna and some of you are saying Tandi. Well, I'm not sure. Like I said, difficult to see. If it was Tandi, I don't know, it just doesn't look like her to me, but it could be. I mean, I could be horribly wrong here, but it doesn't look like her to me. Now I'm going to just try and negotiate this. No, we're not going to get over there, unfortunately. I thought we'd be able to just ride over that, but we're not going to. There's Mvula on my left-hand side. I still can't see where this other leopard has disappeared to now, but Mvula's there, so I'm sure the other one hasn't slinked off too far. I'm just trying to see a way through here, but there isn't a way through here, unfortunately. We're going to just have to try and be patient and wait and see where this leopard goes. But this leopard and Mvula would have definitely seen each other, and well, you can see he's not too perturbed, and it's probably because of the size of this leopard. This leopard is not very big, and so he knows that he's the biggest leopard amongst all 3, and therefore he doesn't have to stress too much about this other leopard that's in this area. Seb, did you see where she went, or he went? I can't
Looks like he or she went like this.
To the left, yeah.
To the left. Like
Okay.
a bit of a loop
Okay.
around the
going to try and see if I can't find this other leopard so we can just get a sort of idea as to who it is. I'm just going to make a little noise here, unfortunately, as we try to go over this section. Sorry, Wendy. So you can hear poor Wendy is just getting a little underbelly scratch from one of the knob thorns. Now where is this leopard? Now, considering that it's quite dense and thick, it's actually quite difficult sometimes to spot them. But this leopard didn't seem too perturbed by our presence, so I'm hoping that it's just laid down somewhere here and I'll be able to find it again. It's somewhere here, Seb, I would imagine. See now where it's gone. I lost sight of it as it kind of went behind this thicket, so I'm not sure where it is at the moment. I think we'll just have to go back and just be patient. Right, I'm just going to quickly just check here to see if there's any sign. No, nothing here. So while we try and see if we can't find this other leopard and see who this is and where they've gone, let's go back to Tayla, who seems to have had, well, a tough morning when it comes to the lions. They've given her a bit of a runaround.
I think we've just missed them, in fact, but well done with all the leopards. It's quite exciting, of course, the drama that could potentially unfold. Now Herbie is giving me a hand. We're checking. I think that the lions have actually crossed out just a little bit west, no sorry, not west, a little bit north of Buffelshoek boundary with cheetah cut line, because I had their tracks again. But I just keep picking up on lion tracks, and the hardest thing is that they're not just going in one direction, they're going back and forth. So they could have turned back around, double backed on themselves, and they could still be around you. So we're not going to move out just yet. Maybe also thinks that we should just keep checking. So I've checked Buffelshoek Dam a couple of times, and Hippo Pools Road, Goripan, the eastern access to the dam. We'll go back around again. I was wondering if I shouldn't maybe go on Hyena Road. Let's actually do that. We might as well. Herbie's got that side covered. Let's just check down here. But yes, it's actually been quite tough. Other than those elephants, we haven't really seen much else. There might be a leopard in the area too, because there were some francolins that were alarming for quite a long time. And I have seen male leopard tracks every now and then in between the lion tracks. So I wonder who has been tiptoeing around the lion. Because it's the far east, it could be anyone from Tingana, or it could be Djuma too, one of those male leopards. But it is quite difficult to, of course, say. So we're just bumbling about and seeing if we can find some birds and lions, if the lions are still here. But we also think
went roughly where Xongile was, just so that I can spend a little bit of time being able to watch the whole scene. But it smells like blood where we are. There's little Xongile in front of me, so we're back to where she is. I just want to go around quickly and go and park off that I can actually see all of them again, and hopefully that other leopard will make an appearance. We did a little loop round, but maybe it's that skittish female that Tayla saw yesterday, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was, and that's why it's just moved away slightly. Once everything settles down, then hopefully it will come back, and then we can actually get an idea of who it is. If it was Hosanna, I would be very surprised if Hosanna sort of was skittish of us and moved away. So I'm just going to park back here again. Alright, so I can see Mvula in front of us, Xongile here, and well, hopefully the other leopard then comes out somewhere as well. But how crazy is this? 3 leopards in one place, and well, none of them are really related to one another that we know so far. I mean, if it is Hosanna, then obviously it is related to Xongile, but it would be interesting if it was Hosanna, because I think Hosanna, the last time he was seen, was somewhere down near the southern boundary, and he went southwards, but I definitely didn't get a clear enough view to know who it is. Maybe some of you out there can match some sort of those patterns around the right eye to one of the leopards, and we can figure out who it is exactly. So most of you are saying Tundi. Well, it'd be interesting if it is Tundi, given that yesterday or the day before she was on Chitwa and her tracks were around Chitwa area. But I suppose it's easy enough for her to have moved all the way here. But let's just see. If it is Tundi, I'm pretty sure she'll kind of settle down somewhere here. She's also a relaxed leopard, and she's not going to really move around too much. And I'd be interested to see her sort of reaction with Xongile and see how they sort of look after or look at each other and move around each other. Generally, with a big male, they sort of assert themselves quite quickly. But when you've got a female around and two females, then there's sometimes quite a bit of aggression between them. So it's going to be interesting if it is Tundi that is in this area. So, Safari, you say that you hope this doesn't get to Mvula's head with all these ladies showing up. Well, I know, wouldn't it be something if it... He must be thinking that these ladies like the older gentleman. Maybe he's a bit like George Clooney, and the grey hair attracts the ladies. What do you think, Seb?
Yeah, I agree.
We'll have to call him Mvula the Silver Fox from now on, and the way that he kind of is attracting females at this stage. And wouldn't it be amazing if we saw Mvula mating with one of them? That would be something quite phenomenal, because, well, everyone's written Mvula off as a territorial dominant individual, but we can see that he's still around, still healthy, still doing his thing, and maybe he's just kind of keeping these females and mating with them on the sly, and we just haven't noticed. But obviously with Xongile we would have known, because she's still a bit small to be mating at this stage. And the thing with Tundi is that she's way south, and it used to be Mvula's main sort of leopard that he used to mate with. He used to always be around Tundi and produce quite a few cubs with her, so I'm pretty sure if she saw one another they would know each other. But there we go, look at Xongile's definitely filled out a little bit. She's still tiny in comparison to a lot of the other leopards, and it would be so cool if we could have seen her and Mvula together, because you would be able to then get a sort of size comparison of just how small Xongile is in comparison to him. She's probably, I would say, a third of his size at this stage, and that's why she'll be very wary of him. The nice thing about being a third of a male leopard size is that you tend to be a little bit more agile, and she can get into branches that he won't be able to, and so she can then get away if he decides to be aggressive with her in any way. But our squirrels have all calmed down, which would tend to suggest that this other leopard is lying down somewhere here as well. So not only is it just kind of slinked off, but it's now lying somewhere in this area and is just taking it easy. And between the three of them, they're all kind of settled, and that's why the squirrels are not panicking as much as what they were earlier. And Mvula himself is kind of looks as though he's starting to settle now. He's gone into his panting phase, his mouth is open, and he's just kind of watching around. He's not paying attention to anything at the moment. He's just straight through again, Seb, so somewhere in that area. Oh, it's difficult to see. There we go. He's just to your left there. There he is at the top, up a little bit. There we go, dead center. So you can see how well he camouflages in all of this. Now, we've got three predators here all together and are trying to see who the third one is. And while we kind of figure it out and see who's who, let's go across to the Scotty Dyson, who I believe has got another predator but is far more prehistoric than these three.
So, we can't really compete with Tristan's 3 leopards. I mean, how exciting is that? But I'm glad you came when you did, because that crocodile, as you can see, just slipped off into the water there. It may have resurfaced a little bit. But thankfully there's a large raft of hippos just beyond it. Look at all those hippos there. And they're just relaxing after having spent the night out. Quite a few youngsters in amongst them. Bit of a nursery pod it appears, but there certainly are also some big ones in there. So we've just moved a little bit further downstream along the Mara River, hoping to find some action of wildebeests and zebras crossing, but there doesn't seem to be any of the migration here. Oh, look down there. There the crocodile's just popped up again. A beautiful view of him swimming off downstream, or possibly her. Look at that. I love the way their heads keep dead still as their tail paddles them through the water. Oof, they are scary beasts. And certainly the one animal that I respect the most out in Africa is the crocodile. They are extremely dangerous to us as humans, whereas most of the other animals out here aren't really going to attack us unless it's unique scenarios. Hello to Douglas, who would like to know the jaw strength of the crocodiles in the Mara, and I'm sure it's the same as all Nile crocodiles, although it must be said that some of the crocodiles in the Mara are absolute beasts, and certainly the biggest crocodiles that I've seen anywhere in Africa have been in and along this river system. Now, in terms of their bite strength, I don't actually know the pound pressure, it slipped my mind, but they've got incredible bite force, clamping down. However, I'm told that the muscles used to pull open a crocodile's jaws are not quite as powerful, so it's mainly their downward clamp that gives them huge strength. And interestingly, once they've clamped down onto their prey with those vice-like jaws, they will spin themselves around to try and rip off body parts as opposed to tearing off flesh. Now, the good news is you guys are going to go from one of the most sinister beasts of Africa to a tiny, newborn, cute and cuddly little elephant.
Oh, unfortunately, I think the sighting is now over. It was so cute. They were playing around in this tiny little puddle, but now I can't move anywhere, Megan, because if I move, the gremlins are going to get me. This is a very bad spot. We've had many sightings in this area where I haven't been able to move at all. I don't know what to do now. We've just got to sit and, I suppose, listen to the bush. My elephants have all left me. So I need to try and move around, but I'm going to send you back to Tristan. I don't know if we'll get another view of these elephants, but we'll give it a go.
Well, hopefully Tayla has a bit more luck and that the Ellies come out nicely for her and she won't have to reposition too much to be able to find them. But our situation is still pretty much how it was. Everybody's kind of calmed down and quite quiet. We've just got a woodpecker that's joined the fray now and is pecking away in the background on the same tree that the squirrels were on just now. So there's a bit of noise coming from there. But you can see Xongile is now sleeping. There's the woodpecker. Oh, it's gone quiet now. But Mvula is still watching around, facing that direction of where that other leopard was. So I don't know if that other leopard's just lurking around there and we just missed it when we went around trying to look for it. But just the way it kind of moved off just didn't seem very much like a relaxed leopard. It was very slinky when it was walking, and that could be obviously because there's other leopards here. But it just looked a bit strange to me. And from where I was, I mean, as much as many of you are saying it's Tundi, it just didn't quite seem like it was her, but it could have been her in the sort of excitement of seeing another leopard. Could very well have been her. But while Xongile is sleeping, I just want to go back to where I was with Mvula just now. We'll have a little look at the old man and see if maybe that other leopard doesn't show up somewhere here. And while we kind of do that, I believe Tayla, who has done exactly what we're trying to do, has repositioned herself and is in a far better place, and she has got her elephants again, which is fantastic news. So let's go back to her.
We do, and look at them right at the car. Craig, look here. We've got two, don't you touch that car. Two very naughty elephants who are very curious about us. Look at that. We must smell like something. I don't know what we smell like, but two young ladies. Yes, you're all very excited, aren't you? Now again, we are limited to where we move around because we run the risk of disappearing due to the gremlins. But they are so sweet, these elephants. It could be the same herd that we saw earlier this morning. It's just a part of them. There's still a whole lot of them around. But they were digging for water. And then there was a little one, like I was saying, it was rolling in the sand and in the mud. And it was getting stuck in the little ditch that the older elephants had dug. There's still some more down here. They're just, I think they're also trying to drink water at the moment. Here we go. They look a lot more relaxed. We had the naughty bunch of elephants come past us. You know what it is? I think it is the petrol that they're smelling that they're quite curious about, because again I can smell just a little bit of fuel. So I don't know why I'm actually smelling fuel. That's not a good sign. Maybe it's just me. I've got a rag in here that is, I think I doused it in fuel once. Maybe it's just that's wafting around the car. But they always seem to be quite curious. Every time I've noticed now, every time I smell petrol and the elephants are around, they come right up to the car and investigate. And they are super sensitive to scents like that. You can imagine how sort of pungent petrol will smell. But they've moved on. And this lot are hopefully going to come right past us as well. You can see they haven't had much to drink. They've got a little bit of water on their feet, a bit of mud on their trunks, trying to dig underneath all of the sand to get to the nice clean water. But there's a hole that they use that she's coming right towards. Maybe she's going to stop here and do exactly the same thing, or she's just going to go past us. Oh, there's lots of elephants. Here comes a big girl too. There's another cow just walking straight down here. We've seen them here many, many different times. This is a big elephant now. Here comes another one. See which route they're going to go. But we've had them. We're basically between Central, Inyala Road, North and South Junction down here. We've had many sights. Remember the one day I think I sat here for the entire game drive, and we were watching the whole herd of elephants. They were mud bathing, they were drinking water. It was when we first spotted my new friend, that young elephant cow who had the kink in her tail. You might remember, and she did a dance in front of the car. She also tried to throw a little branch at us. And then, I don't think it's that same herd though. It doesn't look big enough, but I could be mistaken. This cow that's coming towards us does look like one of the females. I think we've seen her a couple of times. I think I remember seeing her the other afternoon when we had that sighting with the giraffe at the dam. There was one cow that had two very long tusks, but her right tusk was much longer than her left tusk, and I can see that here. It's difficult for you to spot, of course, because she's hiding behind the tambuti trees, but she'll hopefully come back around this way. I think she's just paused in the shade, and her youngster, who's not very young in fact, is actually having a suckle. Very patient mother. It's amazing how quiet they are. There's not a sound barring a few birds, and very quiet even when the elephant walks. Here she comes, but now you can see what I'm talking about. You see, look at the size of her. Like I said, she's a big elephant, and she's got those very distinct tusks. Hello, girl. You're going to go the scenic way around. She's coming down. She's going to look for something to drink. But once you start spending so many times with the various herds of elephants that come through here, it's quite easy to pick up on one or two that you're able to tell the difference between. And I feel like we've just recently seen this cow. Isn't that cute? Little one. What have you found? It's swinging its trunk. It's playing with a piece of grass every time. Look at that. It swings its trunk forward and back, and it's hitting a piece of grass. So you've got to find ways to keep yourself entertained when you're out in the bush. Now, it wasn't swatting flies because it wasn't touching its body. I thought initially maybe there was a fly biting it between its front legs, but it wasn't. I think it was just enjoying the motion of hitting that piece of grass. But if they come around here, it'll be quite nice. They'll drink right next to the car. But we'll see if they start drinking some more. We'll try and find an even better spot. James is, of course, driving around on the big wide open plains in Kenya, and he has got a group of antelope.
There is a magnificent antelope, indeed my favourite antelope, well, out here anyway, and that is the topi. Beautifully coloured, beautifully framed by Fergus, standing here on this little piece of sort of, well, it's a slightly eroded area. I suspect it was used at one stage to gravel the road, but it's provided quite a nice opportunity for topi to have an outlook over this grassy sea that we find ourselves surrounded by. Now the herd of wildebeest and zebra, we drove through their dust for another sort of 20 minutes or so, and then they will disappear down in towards a marshy area where I think they'll be drinking. There's certainly everyone that we saw today seemed to be quite thirsty, in that they were heading or making a beeline for whatever kind of moisture I could see anyway. This topi has clearly been sat here doing his morning ruminations, and I suspect he'll think about moving on from here at some stage fairly soon. If we try and pan around to the right hand side, I'll show you where we are. We are basically heading down towards the Kenyan border, which is just over there. It's just beyond those Inselbergs, which are the little hills sticking up out of the Mara Plains there. And you can see a great sea of relatively unoccupied grass at the moment. That will change. The herds will come to and fro, and we did have some information from the Angama guides. They were down on the border saying that there wasn't too much coming up. So there has been a big influx of wildebeest and zebra towards the Olololo escarpment, so on the very far southwestern fringes of the Mara Triangle. And then further towards the Mara River, I know they've been crossing up north as well. So we're hoping that if we get to the top of this hill and look down, we might just be able to spot some of the wildebeest and zebra coming up to the north. Let's have one last look at this topi, and let us also say that Djuma seems to have been on fire today. Astounding that you've had 3 leopards in one sighting, and of course a baby elephant. That's fantastic stuff. That's a very peaceful picture there as the mid-morning starts to take hold here in the Mara Triangle. Let's continue up to the top of the hill and peep down over the edge. Alright, we're going to go back to Tristan in the Sabi sand.
Well, we are in the Sabi Sands. I hope we're in the Sabi Sand. And when you see something like that, that generally indicates that you are in the Sabi Sands. Which is nice to always see big leopards, and particularly Mvula. He's got a bit of a sneeze on him, though, this morning. He keeps sniffing and sneezing, and I think something's up his nose. Maybe he's got some hair from this duiker that's caught in his nose. It does happen. There we go. Shame, boy. Is it uncomfortable? You can see he's licking his chops every now and then as well. And this is what happens sometimes when they feed off these carcasses. They do get these kind of bits of hair up there, and look at his teeth. You can see they're worn, they're yellow, which is often an indication of age. But look at how worn those bottom canines are, particularly that right one. It's sort of all worn down and stumpy, and the bottom left has still got a bit of a point on it, but they're going to wear more and more as he gets a little bit older. And when you start to see yellowing of the teeth like that, you know that this is a much older male. In comparison to Xongile's yawn earlier, you would have seen that her teeth are still bright white in coloration, so typical of an older leopard, and lots of tatty ears and quite grey around the face. But you are still beautiful, boy, and it's always good to see him. I was saying to Seb now, it's kind of like every time we see him you wonder, is this going to be the last time we see him? Because, you know, he's nomadic and he moves around quite a bit. And he's been spending so much time on Buffelshoek that we haven't really seen too much of him. And so you always kind of wonder if 3-4 months pass, is he still going to be with us? And well, it seems like he's hanging on. And look at that belly, actually. It's full. There we go. He's got a nice big bulge, and that's full of hyena and duiker from his 2 sort of escapades in the last 2 evenings, which is fantastic. Xongile is much the same as what Mvula is at the moment. She's also passed out, and no sign of that 3rd leopard again, so I don't know where it is. He keeps looking in our direction, and that's why I've stopped here just to try and see, but I can't see anything. I think this leopard might have quickly gone into a thicket and is just laid down, because the squirrels are quiet. There hasn't been any other alarm calls anywhere near us, and so I'd imagine wherever that leopard is, it's lying down and just watching what's going on. It would be very surprising, even if it was a shy leopard, that it ran away. And generally with leopards, when they see another leopard, and particularly if they see a carcass like the duiker that's dangling in the tree, they're not really going to move too far. And as Seb was saying, that leopard most definitely saw that carcass and would have been attracted by that smell of blood, and would definitely have kind of come in, and it wouldn't just leave the scene that quickly. So I'm sure it's lying somewhere around here. It is very dense and very thick, and so I would imagine that it's just lying down and watching what's going on. But there we go, you can see there's not very much actually left of that. It's all just pretty much legs and a neck and a head. But you'll find with a small carcass like that and a big male, he'll go through pretty much all of that, and he'll eat the legs, he'll eat through the sort of hip joints, and even the skull itself he'll crunch down and eat that. So pretty much nothing will be left by the end of this evening. He's awake again now. He's just kind of looking around. I wonder if Xongile is not approaching, because he's watching now where Xongile is, and she's, last time I saw, was just sleeping and can't see her now. No, can't see her coming this way at all, and he's not too perturbed by it. But that is the kind of look of a ladies' man, isn't it? He's got his head held high and says, yes, you're all here for me. I am that cool. Right, well, I think what I'm going to try to do is see if I can't find this third leopard one more time, and then probably leave these two to themselves for the rest of the morning, and we'll definitely find them here this afternoon. I would be very surprised if there was a difference this afternoon and we didn't find. He's looking straight in this direction, so I'm sure she's here. It's just about trying to find her now, and while I do that, let's go across to Tayla, who's still with her Ellies, and hopefully has got a beautiful view of them.
We've had to take a view now from higher ground because they've gone into a drainage line, and I think they're drinking in there now. But they're so sweet with all the little elephants. They're all huddled up and amongst one another, and at one point it looked like there were a few of them laying down on their sides like they were having a quick siesta. But they've woken up. Now they're going to pester all the mothers and try and get water from underneath their feet. Very quiet today. They're so calm. They're not making too much noises. Look at that one. What are you doing? Head in the sand, bottom in the air. What a great way to start a Tuesday. And I'm just going to flop down onto the side and have a nap and throw some sand around. Life is great for a little elephant. If I could be any animal as a youngster, I think it would have to be a little elephant. I think that they have the greatest lives. Firstly, who is going to mess with them? Not just one female elephant, but an entire herd of them. So you've got good protection, and you love water, and you can't really work your feet and your trunk too well to begin with. I think it would be a great time. I'd be chasing after butterflies, and the crested francolins would really despise me because I'd try and play with them all the time. Now, it isn't uncommon to see young elephants like this laying down. It's actually very common, in fact. You can imagine the adults walk long distances with their little ones tailing behind them, so they do get tired. Just as little children get tired, or puppies, when they run around for a bit and they go back to sleep, or even the hyena cubs. We see them with these bursts of energy that don't last for very long, and then they need to recuperate, and that's exactly what that little one is doing, is taking a chance while mom is not moving around too much and drinking some water to catch up on some much needed rest. And I'm sure sort of falling asleep, just how we sometimes fall asleep in the cars when you have the beautiful morning warmth sort of just radiating onto your body. You all know what that feels like. It's very easy to just close your eyes and go to sleep, and I think that's exactly what's happening. Right, we're going to go back across to Kenya to Scott, who has got a great crocodile.
Hello again, and we've got a wonderful view of this crocodile now with its jaws wide open, and I hope Douglas is still watching, because I've done a little bit of research regarding the bite strength of crocodiles, and I haven't been able to be sure exactly. I've got some kind of different information from various sites, but basically the crocodile does have the strongest jaws of living animals that they've measured on the earth. I think the great white could be one that they've battled to measure accurately, but crocodiles are certainly high up on the list, and their bite strength is around 3,700 pounds per cubic inch. That's their bite force. That's how it's measured. Now, to give you something relative, our bite force is around 160 to 200. So, not even close to the 1,700 that the crocodile has. And then to give you another idea of another animal that we can kind of relate to, the hyena, I'm told, has a bite force of about 1,100 psi, whereas a lion a little bit less than that. So there's some interesting facts regarding the bite force of some of the strongest jaws on our planet, and also just useful to know that ours is only about 200 psi, so at least we've got something to gauge it on. A very calm and peaceful setting that we found here. It's always interesting to imagine the chaos that can ensue at these various crossing points, and I'm sure it's not going to be long until we start getting in on some of that action. The leading herds of the migration are kind of moving up into the area. They're already in the Mara, but there's certainly a lot more to come. I'm guessing we've only probably received a fifth of the migration so far. The rest is still south of us in Tanzania, but not far away and still moving north. Whoopsie, I forgot my sunnies, but it's very bright out here, so please forgive me. Yeah, so we're going to carry on. I'm hoping to show you some zebras dust bathing, but while we go and search for those striped horses, we'll be sending you off to James with some giraffe.
There we have a giraffe, everybody, a Tippelskirche, the Maasai giraffe, beautifully framed by Fergus, and an Inselberg to the left of that. I've been spending too much time around Gendre. Gendre doesn't believe in using an. I'm just scanning the hinterland for any further sign of migratory herds, and I see them not. We're looking there. So let us enjoy this female Tippelskirche for a little while. She seems to be, well, rather concerned with what we want and what we're doing here. She does have a companion off to the left-hand side there. Hello, Sassy Bee. Good day to you. I hope you're having a wonderful time wherever you happen to be in the world. You say that this giraffe, what an awesome giraffe. Well, I think it is a very awesome giraffe indeed. I have yet to see the reticulated giraffe, which used to be up around where Scott was working, and he says that they are the most beautiful giraffe he's ever seen, so I'd quite like to see one of those. But I like these chaps. I think the Maasai giraffe is fantastic. Very, very similar, I think, in many respects to the southern giraffe. There is a slightly different coat pattern, more irregular patterning, with some very pretty sort of dark bits in the middle of each patch. And if you look at the top of the head, if we can go up there, it's sort of spotted like a cheetah. You see that, Fergus? Do you think sometimes this giraffe puts its head in the ground and pretends to be a cheetah?
In the ground?
Well, in the grass. Ah. In the grass, yes.
Maybe sometimes it just dangles it over a tree.
Maybe.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes, yes, quite.
Similar to a cheetah.
I'm still scanning as the wind comes up. I had reports, I say that like I have some sort of spy network. Of herds of wildebeest crossing the Mara River but south of the border. And we're going now down into that valley, so I wonder where if they aren't around that area. Alrighty, we're going to leave this giraffe now and head down towards the border. While we do that, I believe Tayla is still sitting with, well,
we managed to get one last view. Come around the other side now. And they're not doing too much. One was playing around, one was laying down and then trying to stand up again. which was quite entertaining because, as you know, it's not easy for the elephants to, once they've laid down, to get back up again. They sort of always do this rocking motion, which is always entertaining. But they're down in here. Behind that log, there's lots of little ones. They're all drinking water. They're all playing about. We've actually been lucky with the elephants. We started with them, quick view. Then they left us. But now they're back out again, which is quite nice. And it's such a cool day too. I'm sure they're appreciating the cooler weather. But just by looking at that shot, Craig, it's almost very difficult to try and tell how many elephants are actually in the sighting with us. Just for this little group that stayed behind. Amazing, hey? That sometimes you wouldn't even know that there's an elephant, except those white tusks are a bit of a giveaway too. They stand out a bit like a sore thumb, you can see, as that cow moves about. It's actually the only part that you can see of her, because the wrinkly skin is completely in behind that beautiful buffalo thorn, which they seem to be eating. Watch them eat lots of it today, and I'm sure they're going to munch on it as well. Look at those two now, pushing each other. Oh, that's lovely. That's so cool. Well, it seems as though the gremlins are on full force and they're attacking us, even though I've got the elephants at my side to protect me. Let's go across to Scott, who's got another beast that likes to roam the plains.
Well, good to have you with us again. A very calm scene here in this open clearing. This big old boy is just chewing the cud. He's probably kind of snoozing. You know, wild animals don't sleep quite as deeply as we do. And for the ruminants, like this buffalo, I think a lot of their downtime is spent while they are chewing the cud. So, he's looking a lot more interested all of a sudden, and why, I'm not too sure. And when they give you that gaze, looking you up, it always commands a lot of respect. What are you thinking, mister? I promise you we don't have a lion hiding behind us. Fear not. And looking at the size of you and your friends, I don't think you guys have too much to worry about. The three of these old boys are going to be a force to be reckoned with if any lions try and attack them. I was hoping that these zebra that are in the background were going to be dust bathing. They were when we made our way down to the river before to show you that crocodile. But they've stopped and they're also just chilling out. So a calm and peaceful scene, and a big reason why they will all be feeling so peaceful is that it is open. So it's going to be difficult for predators to sneak up on them. And if we continue to look around to our right, we will notice that there's a lot of other species. There's some impala, some Thompson's gazelle, some wildebeest, and some topies. So they're all keeping an eye out for one another, safety in numbers. I love these topi, they're really interesting beasts. Ooh. Well, isn't that funny, having me said everything was calm and peaceful? I'm guessing what may have happened is that some of these zebras, quite a lot of which are stallions, may have chased one another. What spooked them? Who knows? There's one looking back there into the bushes. I'm scanning in there with my binoculars, but can't seem to see anything. Maybe a false alarm. And one of the wonderful things about the Masai Mara is seeing all these species together, 6 different species in one spot. It's not something you see very often in many wilderness places, but this really is the most incredible wilderness, certainly one of the most action-packed and animal-packed places I've ever explored in Africa. The concentration of game, even now before the migrations arrived, is just so plentiful. And that's thanks to the abundant vegetation and good rainfall that's received in the Masai Mara. These are the dry months. Come November, we'll have the short rainy season in Kenya, so it's about a 1-month rainy season, and that's when the bulk of the country gets rain. Although the Masai Mara will get rain even during the dry spells, just not as much as that November month, so we can expect a lot of getting stuck in November when we try and pursue animals off-road. This whole valley turns into quite a large swamp, or large portions of the valley floor that the Masai Mara lies in will be soaking wet, and it's in those wet months that the vegetation explodes. And it's important to realize that we are actually in a drought in Kenya at the moment. So even though we're looking around now and seeing quite a lot of vegetation, the Mara, when the rain is good and normal, can have grasses 6 feet high. So, you know, we're going to be over the next few years lucky enough to explore and experience all these changes and phenomenons that happen here. But imagine that, grass 6 feet high. Imagine looking for lion in the months before the migration arrives. Thankfully, it's not too bad now. All right, well, as we make our way up the hill, we are going to send you back to Tristan and Xongile.
Well, yes, we thought we were going to leave, and well, we thought just little Xongile is so precious and we don't see much of her, so we might as well spend a bit longer with her and just enjoy as she watches Mvula go about his business. We did a lot of loops round to try and find this other leopard, but no sign that we can see whatsoever. I'm pretty sure it's here somewhere. It's just a matter of trying to find it. It is very thick to the south. And to the west of where we are, and so that little leopard could be anywhere there, whoever it was, and just sitting watching what's going on. But Mvula is taking it very easy. He's sort of flat cat, much in the same spot, and you can see little Xongile is just watching him, and every now and then he makes a little noise and she kind of perks up, and you can see sitting very upright and watching. And Seb and I had to have a little laugh just now, because in this tree where the dike is a squirrel that's been stuck up there. Now it was alarm calling, but there's no ways that squirrel's getting out, because Mvula is lying right at the base of the tree. Xongile is on this side, so that poor squirrel has now got a day spent in the tree. It's not going to be able to get out of that tree at all. It was somewhere around the carcass there, and it was having a little meltdown, because at the bottom of the tree lies a big male leopard, and well, on the northern side of the tree is another leopard, so not an easy place for a squirrel to be. So that squirrel's in for a long day up there. Hopefully one of the leopards as well, Mvula in particular, moves away, and the squirrel will then be able to come down. But you can see there's that dike again. It's amazing how clinical they are and able to sort of dispatch and get rid of all the internal organs, and how that dike is actually still staying up there. It's probably due to the fact that this tree is so thorny. They're in a knobthorn at the moment, so the thorns are gripping that carcass everywhere, but it's sort of, that's the only reason that tree, well, carcass is staying, because it's attached by a thin sliver of skin, the back legs and the front legs, and if these leopards are not careful, that's going to fall, and hyenas will definitely get involved there tonight. And you can see Xongile has got a perfect view of where everything is. What have you spotted behind you? Is this other leopard coming? No, and she's just looking around, just checking to see what's going on. And isn't that just a wonderful picture? You've got the dry, wintry grasses, a few clouds in the sky, and little Xongile sitting under an African winter sky is probably one of the best ways to spend a morning for sure. What do you think, Seb? I think so.
I agree.
Daniel, who's age 13. Hello, Daniel. You want to know what my favorite thing is about living in Africa? Well, Daniel, you're looking at it right now. So that is one of my absolute favorite animals, and my favorite thing to do is to look for leopards. I really do enjoy it, and to be able to sit under a blue sky out in the open in the wilds of Africa and be able to gaze upon something as beautiful as that is why I love living out here. It's the best part about being out here, is spending time in these areas, and also the people that we meet in these wild areas. We are so fortunate that we get to spend time with like-minded people out here who enjoy this just as much as we do, and then to be able to bring it to all of you in the world. So those are my favorite things. Now, she's chuffing again. Mvula's standing up. Look, she's chuffing. Oh, and a little growl as well. Are you showing your teeth? Good girl. She needs to do this. She needs to get a little sort of aggression and cockiness with Mvula. Otherwise, she's going to get herself into trouble with him. So she needs to show teeth and be a little bit on the grumpy side with him and teach him that she's not going to take his nonsense. But between that, you've also got to make sure that you ease any itch that you have underneath your chin or on the side of your face, because, well, you've got to look good for the boys and make sure that when you are giving them trouble, that you look good doing it. It's interesting to hear her. She's even growling a little bit at Mvula every now and then. And you're going to try to get a little bit closer, girl. You need to have to be careful. Right, well, we're going to probably leave the two of them, let them carry on with their morning. We'll definitely come by this afternoon, but let's go back across to Tayla and she can tell us what her favorite thing is about living in Africa.
I started, and I'm so sorry the gremlins cut me off, how rude, but you know what, Daniel, I don't think that there is just one great thing about Africa. I think it's all the different things, and I started saying from the sights to the sounds to the smells, and then of course the beautiful animals and scenery that we have in the country. Let's not even mention how great the food and the culture and how friendly the people are. It's what makes this continent really, really, really great. So I think I'm very privileged to live in this part of the world, and I don't think I'll ever leave unless all the animals disappear, and that is when I will not live in Africa no longer. I love it. We're so lucky to, even though the hyenas kept me up last night. Who can say that they were awake for an hour because the hyenas were, well, raiding camp or trying to raid camp, even though they often raid camp and there's nothing in the bins and things like that, but they just try their luck. They can still smell the food. They're intrigued by the smells. But yes, it's really quite amazing. And then while I was up to hear the leopards and the lions and all that type of thing, pretty special. Very, very, very. Right. But we've only got a few minutes left, so I'm going to send you back across to Tristan, and I'm sure he'll show you some leopards for the last few minutes.
Well, indeed, because it's just so interesting watching little Xongile. Listen to her talking. She's so keen to try and get up the tree that she's pushing her luck a little bit now. She's gotten quite close. The distance between her and Mvula, I would say, is probably no more than 20 meters now. And so she's talking quite a bit. There we go. Listen to her growling. That's her. That's not Mvula growling. It's her. Shame, my girl. Are you hungry? Yes, I know. He's a bad boy for stealing your kill. And she's decided that's where she's going to lie. And so I think this is pretty much going to be the story of the afternoon, or the day, is the two of them are going to do this dance. But unfortunately it's come to that time where we have to say goodbye. So from a growling Xongile, who's very upset with Mvula, it's been a fantastic morning, and I hope you've all enjoyed the ride with us. From Scott, James, myself, Tayla, Seb, and all the rest, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you this afternoon.